Welcome to Lit Vibes Only, where we lit the shit out of books we love and hate. I'm Amanda, the insightful thrill seeker and historical fiction nerd.
And I'm Kelsey, the unhinged, diehard romantic and fantasy reader. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Today we have an amazing guest, but before we get to that, we want to, of course, always direct you to our socials. We are on Instagram. Let's start there at Lit Vibes Only _podcast and TikTok and YouTube at Lit Vibes Only podcast. And then we have our new platforms, Fable, where
Woo.
we are highlighting our Lit It or Quit It books before the episodes come out so you can read along with us, but you get an opportunity to decide what our Lit It or Quit It books are. So that's really exciting. We have a few followers so far, but looking to make more friends.
Yes.
I am Lit Vibes Only Kelsey, and Amanda is Lit Vibes Only Amanda. So find us there.
Yeah, and join our book clubs. As Kelsey mentioned, you can definitely read along with us.
Yeah.
If you are following us on our socials already, you will know that we launched book clubs for both Demon Copperhead and for Children of Blood and Bone. So you can be reading along with us and leaving your feedback. But most importantly, if you have not done so yet, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It takes no time at all. Just hit that 5-star rating. And if you've got a little bit of extra time, you can write a 1 or 2 sentence review for the entire podcast on Apple Podcast, or you can comment on an episode on Spotify. So please and thank you. We really appreciate it, especially as we're well into our second year of this podcast and trying to continue building our following. So if you are not on socials, the last thing we'll say is that you can also reach out to us via our email. It's litvibesonlypodcast@gmail.com. Shoot us a quick, hey, ask how we're doing. Tell us what you want to hear on the podcast. Give us your feedback, recommendations, requests. We love chatting with you all.
Yeah. So let me introduce our friend Tanisha that we have here today. We are so excited to have you here. And we know that today we're going to be highlighting a variety of things. But one of your passion projects lately is your BookTube account called Talking Books with Tanisha, right? Oh my gosh. I was like,
Right.
face that? So welcome, Tanisha.
Welcome. We're so excited that you're here.
Excited. We get the opportunity to learn all about Tanisha and her amazing work with literacy and books in general. So
Yeah. We're so excited to have another educator on the podcast.
It's something we talk about all the time on the podcast.
So one of the things that we do, Tanisha, at the beginning of each of our episodes is talk about the book that we are currently reading. So we're so curious, what are you reading right now?
So I'm reading 2 books right now. One book is I always have a good book like for work I'm reading that can kind of help move whatever work we're doing forward. And I'm reading a book for myself because I feel like you have to nurture and fill yourself too. It's always a balance.
Absolutely.
The book I'm reading for work that also is happening to do both right now is Authentic Carino, which is a book actually based on a research study that a researcher went into a school that's majority Latinx and talks about transformational education systems.
Wow.
And that's been really powerful. And also it's really powerful because it centers so much around the cultural way of being. So that's really amazing. And the book I'm reading for myself right now is The Best Man, which is based on the movie The Best Man.
Oh,
Yeah, by Malcolm D. Lee. And so I'm like so close, like this close to finishing. And as soon as I finish that today, I'm gonna find my next book. But yeah, so that's been really fun to read. I started that over the holidays. I'm almost done.
yeah. That sounds like such a fun read. I actually
Yeah.
didn't know. So the book came first, then the movie.
The
Okay, I
movie
did
came
not.
first in the book. Like who knew? Like he wrote
Oh,
a book based off the movie. Yeah. So it's like
okay.
years later, which is like such an interesting timeline. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's really cool.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So we're recording this in January, listeners, which is my birthday month. And I just picked up my birthday book from my favorite Seattle bookstore, which is Elliott Bay. So I'm going to hold it up for folks on YouTube. I'm going to finally read my first Frederick Bachman book, My Friends. This book has been all over everywhere, and I've heard so many good things about it. It has, I think, like a 4.4 rating on Goodreads. So I'm excited to check him out. I've heard so much about this author and I've never read anything by him. And he's this huge New York Times bestselling author. I will keep y'all posted and I will definitely be posting a review on our socials. So again, if you're not following us, you should be.
And then I just got done with Wuthering Heights, and that is our Lit It or Quit It episode for February.
Uh-huh. Our second one.
Yeah, from Amanda.
Yeah.
And I was glad to be done, I will say.
And it's interesting, we're flip-flopping our recording session. So even though this episode's dropping after our Wuthering Heights episode, we technically haven't recorded it yet. So I haven't had a chance to,
Hear my opinion.
but I have a little sliver, I think, of where that conversation's going to go. Yeah, I read that book.
Well, Amanda, it might surprise you.
Okay. I
You
hope
never
so.
know.
I read that
You
book,
never know.
gosh, over a decade ago. I think I was either still in college or right after, and it was for fun. Like I wasn't having to read it for class,
Yeah.
and I really loved it. Have you read Wuthering Heights, Tanisha?
I have not read it.
Okay.
Told you, Amanda, I loved Jane Eyre. I really
Yeah.
love Jane Eyre, and it's
Yeah.
another Bronte sisters book.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But and it was like similar, like dark or whatever,
It's a similar genre, yeah. It's the same genre.
But yeah, I think what's bothering me lately are audiobook narrators. I just
Oh,
I'm struggling with some of them, and so we'll see. We'll talk about. Well,
yeah,
most people
bad.
have already had an opportunity to listen to that episode, but we'll talk about it in just a little bit.
Yes. And we've talked before about how a bad audiobook narrator can really just destroy a great book. It's or how a good one can make a mediocre book amazing. So it really can go both ways. Are you a big audiobook person, Tanisha?
No, I think I would like to be like on a couch with my book, like with my
Mm-hmm.
book. And then when I'm driving, I get so lost in people's descriptions, I don't focus on what I'm like driving towards.
Oh,
So I haven't figured out the audiobook part yet for me.
yeah.
Yeah. That was my journey this past year in 2025 because I was not an audiobook person, not a great auditory processor. And I decided like that was going to be my focus last year to try and get more into audiobooks because I was the same. I was like, I can't focus on driving and also listening to what's going on. I'm going to get easily distracted. I have ADHD. But I have realized the more that I've done it, the easier it has become. So I feel like I'm building that muscle,
It's
but it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge at the beginning. All right. Well, let's dive in because I'm so curious to learn more about you and what you do. I know you and Kelsey already have an established friendship. So we'd love to start off and give you the opportunity to share with us how you describe yourself really at the intersection of being a reader, a writer, and an educator. So many titles in there.
Okay, let's see. So I feel like the educator part of me, one, since I was 5 years old, I knew I was going to be a teacher. Like always
Wow.
knew, and I've always like had that thing. And I think it always centered around like me reading to my dolls and like setting up the little chalkboards and everything and having stories and then comprehension questions and like all those things. And I
Hmm.
think that came from just always having books around my house. Like my mom was like just always like, we're gonna have books everywhere. So I had a library in my bedroom. I always had
Wow.
access like to books throughout the house. And I was one of those kids that just reading came naturally to me. So I never really struggled with reading. And so I always had this kind of yearning and like eagerness around stories. And then
Hmm.
I think that the piece around the writer was really around wanting to tell stories that I feel like sometimes I couldn't see for myself. Like I didn't have a super dramatic childhood. Like it was pretty like a standard existence, but we were from my family's from the South. I was raised in California and we were just like a family that was just trying to like, thriving, all the kind of things. But sometimes the stories that I would read about myself, like the ones that about my culture or my race was like dramatic. There's these
Hmm.
things that had to happen. And it was like sometimes
Yeah.
you can actually just have a group of friends be going to school and the dramas who likes you, who doesn't like you that day.
Yeah.
That's where the writing came in, is I just wanted to tell stories about stuff people go through, things I was going through.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then how does the writer piece tie into that? Because you mentioned reader and educator.
Yeah, I think this happened like when I in eighth grade I had a teacher that really actually in sixth grade I had a teacher that assigned it as assignment around like writing. She wanted everyone to
Hmm.
write like a short story. When I finished my writing project, she accused me of cheating. She accused me of copying my book. It was based on my dolls. It was basically it's this whole like world that I created that I was really proud of, but it took away the excitement and like the joy around it because of the way that she was
Mm.
so sure I couldn't have been the one to write it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't write for a while. And then eighth grade, my teacher, the first black teacher I ever had was an eighth grade Miss Riley. And she assigned us to write another short story. And she read it and automatically was like, what can we do to help support this? It was so
Oh.
encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
But she only was there until October. School started at the beginning of September. And so she ended up getting another position somewhere. And that nurturing went away. But my desire never went away. Like I knew then that it was possible. And so I just started writing. But I think what kind of turned me into wanting to make my writing more public was when my brother unfortunately passed away in a pretty unfortunate situation. And he had a list of things he really wanted to accomplish before he got to whatever age. And he was pretty young when he died.
Mm.
And I realized I had not pushed my own writing forward. Like I hadn't done some of the things that I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so writing became this like, I mean, I always had been journaling. So journaling was something that was really natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then wanting to see things like on a shelf that some other little person could pick up and be like, yeah, I really want to read this story because the story feels like so good, or I'm learning something, or it's hard to read, but I also like will feel better when I finish reading it. And the joy of sharing words and like sharing stories, like that's where that came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. So it sounds like you've been a lifelong reader
Yes.
from like
Yeah.
when you were itty bitty.
Yeah.
Do you remember a book that made you fall in love with reading, or was it like, or was it not a book? Was it something else in general?
Yeah. So a book that stood out to me was this book. There were always lots of books, but there was one book that I loved and I read it over and over again when I was like little. And that
Mhm.
was called But No Elephants.
Oh,
It
okay.
was about this little lady that had this house and she would welcome all these animals to come into her house. She made her house so welcoming, but her rule was like, but no elephants. Absolutely not. And then one day this big elephant came and it was so like, I really want to come in. Is there any way I can come in? And she was like, no, no elephants, no elephants. And finally something happened to help her bring the elephant in. And the elephant came up kind of like, almost destroyed the house. It was so big and the house was so tiny.
Hmm.
But then everything worked out. And I just remember like reading like that. For some reason, I really identify with that elephant. I was like, yeah, I know what that feels like not to be sometimes always welcome in certain places, but
Yeah.
also it was just one of those stories that just captured you. So that was like my little itty bitty story. I think I was like maybe 4 or 5 when I read that book over and over again.
Mhm.
But when I like truly fell in love with like chapter books was when I was like in third grade. I remember this so clearly. It's my first like, Scholastic book order or whatever, right? And
Hmm.
like my first book I ever got was Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume.
Oh, okay.
And I was 8 years old and I was like, I'm not in fourth grade, but I really want to read this book. And I like, I was so ready. And yeah, like that is what turned it for me. Like after that, it was like every Judy Blume book ever, I'm going to read it. And then
Yeah.
after that, it was like, what other books feel like Judy Blume or feel like those kind of stories? And I just like just kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting talking to folks who, really, especially if they were young readers who fell in love at a young age versus like someone who got into it at adulthood,
Yeah.
what they're attracted to and then what they continue to pursue all the way up. Because as you were answering, I was like, what was my book or books that I was really into? What series? And I remember especially in middle school, I was very much into Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, probably the Hardy Boys a little bit more, and like anything involving mysteries, a little bit of thriller. And that is for me is still true today. Like that's still one of my top genres. And then I was also into the Dear America
Oh, yeah.
diaries
Yeah.
and also like American Girl stories. And I love historical fiction. And it's that never changed for me. Like that initial, like, these are the kind of stories that I love to read and interact with and write that didn't waver,
Yeah.
even into adulthood.
Yeah.
So we are all based here in Seattle, and we are curious to know how this city in particular has shaped your relationships to books and or community literacy.
I think Seattle's like the best city for readers. Like
Oh, okay.
I'm enjoying it. I think for me, what I have really appreciated is like the abundance of small bookstores that you can
Mm-hmm.
find,
Mhm.
which just, I mean, I have a favorite. My favorite right now, because I live like not too far from Burien, is Page Two Books, right downtown Burien, Old Town Burien.
Okay.
And it's a book that no matter when I go in, I'm always going to find a book that I want, like always. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I also love Elliott Bay. I also love Third
Mm-hmm.
Place Books. Those are bookstores where like, I go in, like I know, okay, I'm gonna find a place to be able to like just to browse. No one's gonna bother me, and they might help me if I ask for help and everything. But they're also gonna be like just welcoming, and I really love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've been able to find access to most of the authors that I read have come here like for book talks, for town halls. And so I feel like I have access to the authors that I really want to ask more questions to or really want to hear more about that. I really appreciate that kind of vibe. I also like the fact that we have some pretty strong local authors. I wanted to remember because a couple of them are ones that just stand out to me that I've read or also like really appreciate having conversations with is like Jewel Parker Rhodes, and she's amazing. And her
Mm.
stories mix between historical fiction and it's like things that are happening currently. Diana Ma, Jesse Hagopian, Aaron Jones, Octavia Butler, of course. Really amazing authors that I feel like have the context down. Like Renee Watson's not too far. Just stuff like that, where it's
Yeah.
we have this kind of like cultural vibe to it. So I really enjoyed that part of it. Although I have to say, when I travel, I always find a bookstore. Like I always want to know what the
Yes,
vibe is.
of course.
Yeah, but that's like how I feel like for Seattle. And I feel like, I mean, there's work to do in terms of what's happening in schools. That's a different story,
Yeah.
a whole different story. But in terms of what I've experienced around just enjoying like the literacy or the
Hmm.
like a literary kind of like environment, like I've really been enjoying that piece.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things about Seattle too, and maybe other cities are similar, but I think too, this like growth of really niche bookstores that are focused on a particular genre.
Yeah.
We, back in December, had to sit down with a local bookstore owner of a romance bookstore in Pioneer Square, Beguiled Books. And we have bookstores here in Seattle that are focused on like horror and that are focused on like more STEM based books. And that to me is a relatively new development. And again, maybe other cities are also like on that track. I'm not sure, but I think that's something also that Seattle does a really good job of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then even Mom's Books
Mm.
in the International District is like Asian-owned bookstore,
Hmm.
another like niche area.
Yeah.
I love it.
I wonder if it's because of the weather here, because we have these long, gray, rainy winters that just inspire you to curl up inside.
Yes, I was in a boba tea shop the other day, like in the federal area, and like I walk in and they have a whole like book theme around their
Yeah.
boba teas. Now this is like so cute. So
Yeah.
just like little things like that.
Yeah. It's such a vibe here. Kelsey and I, again, I think this was maybe also back in December. There's a new book themed cocktail bar in, I believe it's Ballard, right? Yeah, called the Ink Drinker that we went to. And yeah, it's really just meant for all of us bookworms to go and have a bite and a cocktail and read. It's fantastic.
Love it.
Yeah. And then down the street from that is Swoon City in Ballard as well, which is another romance bookstore, but they also highlight and do events where it's like crafting events. It's
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
yeah,
that's so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. I want to look into their groups to see if any of them are interesting to me.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Tanisha. Like, it does feel like Seattle is definitely like a literary bubble that we've created here. And there's so many opportunities for us to connect with other readers, with
Mhm.
authors, even to add to your list of authors, Ijeoma,
Oh,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
she's an amazing author and I love her work. And she's right here. It's crazy. So switching gears a little bit from like our Seattle based area, you let me know that YA is like your favorite
Mm,
genre or collection of types of books
yeah.
because it's not technically a genre, right? It's a category.
Yeah.
So, what do you think YA does better than other categories of books?
There's something about the way that stories are cared for. And I think it might be because the characters are young people themselves, that there's a kind of this, not protectiveness, but I think an understanding that we need to be careful with how we're telling the story.
Mhm.
Be careful, but be authentic because you never know who's going to pick that story up and need to like get something from it, learn something from it. Stories have the impact and to change your life also. So who might be saved from it, honestly?
Mhm.
And there's such like this variety of it doesn't really matter like what your identity is. I've seen so many different identities be either introduced, talked about, defined, elaborated on in ways that I think build understanding and
Mhm.
capacity for like acceptance and empathy can lead you into other kind of genres if you're really interested in going deeper into other categories because YA can introduce you into that. What I really love about it is that there's just so many authors with so many different perspectives that I feel like I learned a lot just from reading the books. And I feel like and especially if you get hooked into an author, right? There's a couple of authors that I just like really will pretty much read anything that they write.
Hmm.
'Cause I love how they storytell so much and I love how they take care of their characters. So it's just the characterizations for me is everything. I love a good character. I love
Hmm.
a deep character arc. Like I really want to be able
Yes.
to like join your whole world. And I love how they take time like helping build this like this world for you. So you're actually part of what's happening. And I know that happens in other books too, but there's something I think, like I said, that is just careful around, like careful, but I think like but real around
Hmm.
YA that is just pushing boundaries and yearning and challenging you. Come with me. Like, why not? Just come on, let's go. Let's figure this out. And so I've really been enjoying, and I've always enjoyed YA. I never grew out of YA.
Hmm.
And yeah, if I'm gonna go into a bookstore, I'm always going to the YA section.
Yes.
What's new? What's happening?
I love that you kept on using the term like care or like being careful with these stories because if you think about the demographic that's largely reading and consuming these texts, they are at such an impressionable age, right? And they're using these texts to shape their worldview, their perception of self and others.
Yeah,
So I feel like YA authors, especially, have kind of this additional burden to make sure that they're taking care of the stories that they're telling and the reader because so much of what they're sharing could have such a significant impact on the
yeah,
development of the folks reading their text.
I agree.
And I also, actually, I think all three of us are huge fans of YA. We're often recommending YA books on the podcast and on our socials and reading them. But I do think adult readers, there can be misconceptions,
Mhm.
especially when they hear of other adults reading YA. So, what do you feel are the misconceptions that you hear most often, primarily from adults who don't read YA?
Yeah, like somehow the stories are simplified, that
Hmm.
somehow the characters are not realistic, or
Hmm.
you're reading down, like you're like like you're reading down, it's so down. Like what would you have finally have anything interesting or like a connection to?
Hmm.
Yeah, this is almost it reminds me actually of the whole graphic novel conversation. Like,
Yes.
those are not real books. Like, why
Hmm.
would you say that? There's the art and craft that goes into that storytelling as well. And
Hmm.
that's what I feel like happens with some YAs that people are quick to dismiss them
Hmm.
and not to take the stories and the themes seriously. And
Right.
if only like you could like break past that barrier and open one up, like maybe you might be surprised. You probably would be surprised at how much is there for everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's even been some like middle school level reads that I've read that I've been like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
amazing and
Yeah.
profound in many
Yeah.
Hmm.
ways. And it is really unfortunate that people like I see so often on social media, it's like, don't let the YA title like scare you or lead you to something else because it's like, why are we trying to make excuses for it? It's a great category of books. Like
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
there's a wide range
Yes.
types of books you're
Hmm.
reading in YA. So it's
Right.
yeah, it's wild. I want to go back to the first question we asked of this in this section. You mentioned your go-to YA authors. Who are some of them?
Okay, so Nick Stone,
Next
love, like I love Nick Stone. And I had an opportunity it was kind of like this real random opportunity where I had a chance actually to meet her. And
Oh,
I had
wow.
read like almost all of her books. There's one book I have not read. She has a new book coming out, like I think in a couple of months, but I've read all of her books otherwise. And it was like she's one of those authors that I was introduced during COVID and just clutched onto. So Dear Martin and Dear Justice and Dear Mandy are my favorites from her specifically, but she's just amazing. Got that young voice like down. And then
Hmm.
Jason Reynolds, I love Jason Reynolds.
Okay.
He's just like this, I don't know. I would love to have more time to spend with him. Never really, I've been in his talks, never had a chance to really talk with him directly though.
Hmm.
Jason Reynolds, Kwame Alexander.
Hmm.
Really love him. Tiffany D. Jackson, Angie Stone, Renee Watson. Yeah, like those are a couple of the ones that stand out right now. Oh,
Yeah.
we have Elise Bryant. I love Elise Bryant.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there's another, I think her first name is Aboya, Aboya, and I forgot her last name, but she has a couple of like wintry love books,
Oh, okay.
which has been really fun to read too. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I
My-
recognize some of those names on this list.
Yeah.
It's
Those
like
are
I have
my,
an Angie Stone novel behind me.
yes.
One of my favorites is, have you read, and I've mentioned her on this podcast several times, Elizabeth Acevedo?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
have. Yeah, she's
Love her
amazing.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool mixing of genres because it's a mix of prose and poetry, and they're just
Um,
so
that-
compelling and poignant. Oh my goodness.
I think Angeline Booley is one.
oh my gosh, I forgot. I forgot. Yes, I read all of those too.
She was here in Vancouver, BC, October maybe. I can't remember when I went. I don't know if you
Yeah.
were,
hmm
Amanda, but it was amazing. Like it
Yeah.
was the best book talk I've ever been to. And it was
Wow.
just, I was like, oh my
I
God.
can imagine.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm such a weirdo when it comes to people like I admire or I like look up to. Like I've read their books or seen them on TV or whatever,
Yeah.
because I can't go talk to them because I get so nervous and
Oh,
then
same.
they say stupid things. So
hmm
I wanted to go say hi, but I was like, I can't. I,
We'll go together because like we have to talk to her.
yeah, I really
Yeah.
do want to talk to her, but
Yeah.
God, yeah, I'm just such a weirdo.
She's great. Kelsey got me to read Firekeeper's Daughter
Um,
and was one of my top reads
Yeah.
yeah. What I
that
love
year.
about her specifically is that she has a lesson that she's going to make sure you learn by reading her
hmm
books. You're
hmm
gonna understand
Yep.
there are some things that are happening in the indigenous culture and native culture
hmm
that are important for us to pay attention to. And
hmm
so that's where like the repatriation pieces, like for me, for Warrior Girl Unearthed came up. I was like, oh, like I had no idea. Like I just not know. It makes sense, but I had
hmm
no idea. And then I forgot what it's called, but the ceremony where they take the guy in the put him in the blanket and basically are beating him. That was for Firekeeper's Daughter, like when the
hmm
thing like
Oh,
really
yes. Uh-huh.
yeah. Oh, and then of course like the missing and murdered indigenous peoples movement.
hmm
Like I just feel like every time I read her book, and I've read her books a couple times now, just like, wow, like you're gonna make sure we understand. You're gonna make sure like we
Yeah.
get this. But she does it in such good storytelling. And I just finished reading like
hmm
the last one this summer, and I really appreciated her going back and keeping the characters and like being authentic to their stories. And that was all about the Indian Child Welfare Act and what happens when children are lost in our system and are abused. And
hmm
so just I don't even know you all. Like I can't wait for her next one. And also like each book is like, oh, like
Yeah.
They're heavy. They are.
I got
Yeah.
my husband into them, and he read Firekeeper's Daughter, and then instantly picked up the next one. He's like, I gotta read this. And then he was like, "Did you know it's the same like world?" I was like, "Yeah."
yes,
All three of them are. It was so silly. It was cute. But yeah, yes, adore her books.
Yeah. And to your point, Tanisha, like a lot of YA books, and again, I think adult readers miss this, like they are addressing important, significant real world issues.
yeah.
And I think again, it's like, oh, they're for younger people, so they're not going to be as meaningful or complex or nuanced or have that much to say. It's going to be relatable to me in any way. It's not going to be educational to me in any way. And I'm like, you could not be more wrong. There's so many important lessons to be learned in these books, regardless of age. And if we're thinking in terms of DEIB work, like these are windows for us. And so getting a chance to look into someone else's experience and learn, again, regardless of the age of the protagonist,
That's right.
like
That's right.
should not be a barrier at all. You rattled off a list of authors that you really love. And so honing in a little bit more, what are some YA books or a YA book that you wish every middle or perhaps high school student had access to, and why that book or books?
So I'll go back to Nick Stone because so it's the Dear Martin series, and it's Dear Martin, Dear Justice, and Dear Manny.
hmm
And the reason why I really like those books specifically, I wish that everyone had access to them, is because first it breaks down the story of what I would say like, is probably a middle class Black youth, Black boy who has friends across the spectrum in terms of like class experience. And he has a struggle he really has to deal with in the middle of this whole thing, which is dealing with like race, class, being ostracized, witnessing a friend get harassed by the police and assaulted by the police and still have to keep going. You know what I mean? Like he
hmm
still has to keep going. And in this book, the first book, other characters are introduced. And so we have a chance to see that window about what is an experience for a young Black boy who is like super smart. Like he's very smart. He's about to go like to Princeton or Harvard or whatever. He has really great people and it's really great support system, but right around him, things are not necessarily like that. And that's a reality for
hmm
him. And
hmm
then we have Dear Justice, which is one of the characters that's introduced in Dear Martin, and he's an incarcerated youth. And so in Dear Martin, the main character's name is Justice, and Justice is writing letters to Martin Luther King as like an assignment. And it
Hmm.
becomes kind of like this practice that happens. And he goes to him for advice and he goes to him for sharing things and he's struggling. Dear Justice is what's happening is the letters are being written to him from an incarcerated acquaintance that he grew up with. And this like whole
Okay.
huge kind of mystery thing is coming in and what's right and what's wrong. And a white kind of like protagonist or antagonist is in this story that's really trying to figure out where am I on both sides of the situation. And he
Hmm.
has an arc too, right?
Hmm.
This white boy has an arc also. And then we have Dear Manny. And Dear Manny is the story of the white protagonist and what his connection is to the two black protagonists that have been in the other stories. And there's just something really beautiful about like the family, the criminal justice system, the education
Hmm.
system, like what it means to have blackness, you know, at black excellence, black struggle, like white learning, white struggle, like all that stuff is mixed into like this book.
Hmm.
Or these books. And that's the book that I wish everyone, like that trilogy, I wish
Yeah.
everyone had access to those books and a teacher who could hold the conversation to allow
Hmm.
students to really engage in what if and what do we know about this and how does it connect like to our current reality. It is
Hmm.
like a book that I have to read. If I'm reading those books, I read them in order and I have to. I read them over and over again because I love them. It's like my
Yeah.
one time a year book. You go back once a year, read this book again. That's my series. That's my trilogy.
That sounds so important
Yeah.
for
Yeah. And
folks to read. Yeah.
yeah. And I'll just add that like Nick Stone talks about how in Dear Martin, some of the people she was working with youth who were in the juvie system and they were like, I love that story. Dear Martin is so good, but what about our story? Like, where's our story at?
Mm.
We're not out there.
Yeah.
That's not a reality.
Yeah.
Can you write a story for us? And that's where Dear Justice came from.
Wow.
Yeah, I just love that kind of background story too.
Yeah, and it's not again, it's not a perspective you really see anywhere
Yeah.
in literature,
Oh,
especially YA.
yeah.
But that is a real lived existence.
Like my
Um,
passion because I love them.
yeah, it made when you were talking, I was like, what are these books making me think of? And it was who you mentioned already, Jason Reynolds, because I read his book, All American Boys.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, and it very similar kind of vein, right?
Yeah.
Where we're diving into that experience. And another book that I think a lot of people should read. I think even more so, like if you are an educator listening to this podcast, because of the stereotypes and stigma that a lot of us carry, the way that we interact with our Black students, particularly our Black male students. And so I think books like this are so important for adults, like educators of all races to read to help check your own biases, right? And how you're perceiving your students, and then therefore how you're treating them in the classroom, in the hallway, in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
So that's like another plug for like, yes, you should be reading these books
Read
as an
them.
adult, please.
Yeah.
Um, and thinking about that line of the kind of book, but expanding a little bit
Mhm.
beyond that, like what themes in YA do you feel are most urgent for folks to read now?
Oh my gosh, right now in this moment, like for real, the books that are pushing are towards acceptance across identities. Like
Hmm.
I've been reading another genre within YA that I read a lot of is queer fiction and queer romance, like rom-com.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's where that piece around the helping define, build awareness, build capacity for what is this world? I mean, I don't identify as LGBTQ. However, I feel like there are enough people in my life that do that I want to
Hmm.
be able to understand and also like just hear like the normalized every day to day
Hmm.
life of a romantic
Hmm.
person or any person. But I think that's one thing is like understanding that we can be humanized through
Hmm.
stories.
Yes.
And so I think that some themes that I'm really loving right now are acceptance across identities and
Hmm.
like the openness around conversation and empathy, while also pushing for, yes, we're going to have this space, we're going to take up the space, and we get
Hmm.
to. It's our space to take up. I feel like that is a theme that I'm really appreciating. You know what I mean? I think we need that. Like we need to take up some space to
Yes.
get those stories out there, and like our own identities need to be pushed and valued.
Yeah, because those spaces are not just going to be given to us. You do
Oh,
have to just be a sort of like, I'm here and I'm going to take it, even if you don't give it
yeah,
to me.
yeah.
About you guys, but I'm really seeing that like in our youth as
Mhm,
well. They're like, I'm just here. And
mhm,
there's so many identities that are new to me. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, y'all are teaching me
yeah,
and requiring the space to be who you are. And
yes.
Hmm.
it's even been like a journey for me, not just reading, and we see it right in our worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, especially as educators, because we're working with youth every day. I
Yeah.
work at a 6 to 12 and I teach in both the middle and the upper school. So this is my this
Yeah.
is my demographic. And yeah, completely echo Kelsey's sentiments. Because like we grew up, I mean, we're millennials, like we grew up in a different time. And even just going from our generation to what is it, It's Gen Alpha, right? Yeah. Gen Alpha and Gen Z, I think are both the ones that are in middle school and high school right now.
6, 7.
Like showing my age. But yeah, I think I'm really often proud of the way that our students are so bold and confident and again claiming that space and not being ashamed or insecure, which was very different, I think, from even when I was in school, even more so based on where I grew up, which was very rural, white Ohio. But yeah, another reason why these books are so important for them to
Yeah.
also see themselves
Yeah.
and their experiences shared. Shifting a little bit from reading and consuming books and getting excited about them,
Mhm.
what was the catalyst that shifted you from going from someone who was simply enjoying books to wanting to craft and write your own?
Mhm. I've always enjoyed active writing, like the idea of what are the thoughts in my head that I can put into some kind of outline or order and put that into an actual story. And I think the more that I was reading, the more I was like, huh, I want to try that too. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
try that. I think it does go back though, like to what I was saying with my brother and just realizing like you can tell your story or you don't. Like it's really
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That's the kind of choice you have. Either you tell the story or you do the thing you want to do or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And any regret that happens really is on you after that. And I could talk about wanting to write or I could just write. I could put
Mm-hmm.
to it. And the catalyst was literally my daughter was born, and then 10 days later, my brother was murdered. And it was
Oh,
like such a sudden thing in the middle of this whole like, wait, my body is like still literally trying to figure out like how to respond to this little person. And I
yeah.
also don't have a brother anymore. And my
Mm-hmm.
parents were in the middle of that whole thing. And I feel like I was also like in the middle of caretaking for my parents and also my brand new baby. And also, he was in a different state, so having to go back home where we were from in California to put him
Mm-hmm.
to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of all of that, it was like, there's not a lot of time to ponder, do I have time to do this? Do I not have time to do this? Make it happen. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that story to come out that I've been holding on to basically since my eighth grade teacher was like, you could write, you could do this. It's
Yeah.
possible. And I just started, and it wasn't perfect and it's not perfect, but it was something that I did because I really wanted to do. And I sought out and I did some things to help support myself during that, but it was therapy. It was like, it helped me. Like, it really helped
Yeah.
me start moving towards healing. And then it was just like one of those things where I just, here's one story. It's possible. Can I make space to continue? And I have not been like consistent with always having a pattern for writing, but I've worked on it. And I've been taking like more classes and really trying to build a discipline for that. And having people around you who also are writing is really
Yes.
helpful. And that's something that just keeps me going. It's the stories, I'd love for them to be shared out, but I write them first for myself. They really help
Mm-hmm.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for your openness about sharing your story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can obviously that's a painful memory that also supported your journey. But thank you for your openness.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Um, Thinking about like your writing
Mhm.
and the intersection of being an educator, because I see it all interwoven. You're just like
Yeah.
talking so much about I was inspired by my eighth grade teacher, and those all of these things just intersect.
Mhm. Mhm.
And how did being an educator help shape your own writing of like
Yeah.
the characters, the stories, the dialogue?
Yeah. It's funny. So when I was teaching sixth grade, I taught middle school for 7 years. And I was the sixth grade humanities teacher. So loved teaching writing with my sixth graders. And I would try, they would be my little like guinea pigs. Like, I'm trying this idea. Like, what do y'all think? And give me feedback and let me know. I wanted them first to be excited about writing. Like I wanted them to know, hey, I'm asking you to write these things. I'm gonna write them too. I'm gonna write them with you. We're all in this
Mm-hmm.
together. But I also wanted kids not to be fearful. Like some kids were fearful of putting their ideas on paper and not being perfect. And I think honestly in education, this idea around perfection is so over. I'm just over it. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to try. And I need to make sure that we have cultures and climates in our schools that are encouraging kids to like just be. Let's also enjoy the fact that we're learning every single day. And that doesn't have to be this thing that becomes a burden. And so for me as an educator, when I was thinking about and thinking about creating as a writer and even as a reader, it's every kid, and this is like back to the class I'm taking right now that really is talking about a lot of the struggles that students are having when it comes to like just basic literacy skills. A lot of kids will struggle with literacy, but technically 95% of the kids that we are teaching had the capability or the opportunity at the beginning of their literacy journey to be really literate people.
Hmm.
And so that tells me that something around the practice that we're doing, the way we're talking about, the way we're executing or whatever, is not meeting the needs of our students. We know this, right? It's not, like rocket science or anything. And yet, like, why is it so complicated all the time? So I feel like if we talked more about what we are currently reading, if we did more modeling of writing with our students across content areas. I've always been inspired by what's happening with the youth. They're the ones that introduced the books to me first. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
what are you reading? Why is that so interesting? Like, how can I learn more about that? But I don't know. I think we can't like learn above our students. We kind of learn with our students and be there in
Hmm.
the middle of that with them. And I don't know, education for me has always been like a platform for conversation, community building, advocacy, building relationships. And I like
Hmm.
the idea of doing that through the things that you love. And for me, that was always like reading and writing.
Yeah.
So I always led with that, like literally. That's my classroom library was like my pride and joy. I loved it. That was the
Yeah.
hardest thing to get rid of or to have to pass over when I left
Hmm.
teaching. And I do remember going back into my classroom, like, oh, you're not really appreciating the books that I left. Let me take them back. I will take them back. And I did, because if you're not going to take care of them, like, not even the
Yeah.
students, it was the adults. If you're not going to take care of them and value them, I will take my books back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you start from scratch. I know.
Yeah.
I was petty, but like, I was
We get it. Because stories are so important and they're so
yeah,
powerful. And we have been using stories since the dawn of time as human
yeah.
beings to understand our world and our place in it and our connection to others. And if you're going to take something that has that much power and value and not respect it and not care for it, then yeah, I'm going to take it back. Absolutely get that. And you mentioned near the beginning of this interview part of your reading journey was looking for texts that you could see yourself
Mhm,
in.
mhm.
And so tying that into this moment, when you are writing your books, have you ever thought, like, this is exactly the book that I wanted or needed when I was a
Yeah.
kid?
Yeah. So what I'm currently workshopping and floating around to like different midterm fellowship opportunities is the book I wish I had when I was transitioning from high school to my HBCU for college. And I went to school in Louisiana, but this book is living in Atlanta. So it's grounded like in Spelman and Morehouse and Clark,
Hmm.
and that's where the characters are at. But it's that first year. It's the first year of literally like when the parent is dropping their child off and what that feels like. And I now have done that because my daughter just started college this year.
Oh, wow.
And I felt that in a way I hadn't felt it when I was writing it. And so I've been going back and tweaking it a bit. But oh my goodness, like the lessons that I wish someone had prepared me for. Was it me like when you're going with people that you've been really close with and your relationships start changing, like your
Hmm.
friendships start changing because you're changing. And then the actual like your romantic relationships that you're involved in are starting to explore. Like what things should you be careful about paying attention to, like in honor of safety for yourself, for your mind and for your body, like all those kind of things. This is the book right now. I'm like, I wish I'd had this book when I was starting out. Like I would love it. And it's still fun. There's really some good stuff in there. But this is literally, if I could go back in time and give myself this book, like this is the book I would do it because
Yeah.
there's just so many lessons that I learned and
Yeah.
things to pay attention to. There's a lot going on in the world. It's easy for us to be misled or have trust in the wrong people.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had that book.
I know.
That would have been very helpful in that transition period.
I want to ask you, Tanisha, what are the titles of your books? And
Oh, okay.
I think you said two, or was it three?
There's two right now that there's two that have been self-published in the past, and then there's one I'm currently like I said,
Oh,
workshopping. So
yeah.
the two that have been self-published, one is called From a Caterpillar to a Butterfly,
Hmm.
Mm.
and that's about a series of friends that in their senior year of high school, and different things are happening for them. And like this one girl who's really just had some kind of hits around her self-esteem and things like that haven't been. I'm not sure how that. Sorry. Anyway,
I know.
It's okay. I was like, it's not that.
give myself a thumbs up. Anyway, But yeah, like she had some hits to her self-esteem and she's trying to rebuild herself. And her mom is really there to help encourage her and her best friends around.
Mhm.
We are here as you come out of that cocoon, basically.
Yeah.
So it's that transition. Yeah. And then there's also a book that I wrote. So I had my daughter beige. I went through IVF in order to have her. It took us a long time to be able to realize that we weren't going to be able to conceive naturally,
Hmm.
like by the natural progression of that. And so we did IVF, but I hadn't really seen a lot of stories that were talking about IVF for young people, like for a
Hmm.
young person's perspective. Here's my story. I see the adoption stories for little people.
Hmm.
I hadn't really heard about your story for IVF. And so this is a story called Beige's story. And
Oh
it's about
yeah.
her story, but through the IVF
Hmm.
process, which is a lot. It's a lot. So when a little baby comes out of IVF, like it's a lot of work that's gone into getting them there. They
Yeah.
should know that's a really special process for them.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
I love
Yeah.
that. I want to read that.
I know. And you're right, there is a gap in the literature. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, definitely filling that. Oh, that sounds beautiful.
Definitely something that yeah, you just don't in general hear IVF stories.
Hmm.
They are really cumbersome, can be painful, can be
Yeah.
very long. Like
Hmm.
unless you know someone personally, like you probably
Hmm.
haven't heard
Yeah.
someone's story.
Yeah.
So can't wait to figure out where we find those. Plug them at the end. I love that. And I've been thinking about this whole, because you're also a mother,
Mhm.
obviously, and the part of literacy and loving books and being a writer also plays into being a mother and like how you support your child through literacy.
Yeah.
So we're wanting to like shift gears a little bit to that. And we know you're like deeply passionate about students like getting access to literacy and
Mhm.
books and such that support them in that way. And we're wondering like what does access mean to you right
Mhm. I think that's been evolving for me. I'm glad you asked that question because I think first one layer of that is literally do kids have access to books that reaffirm who they are, that are culturally informed, and also I think opening up opportunities like to see the mirrors of themselves, but also see the opportunities for things that can happen outside of themselves. So that's one of the hugest pieces for me is like where are we building that kind of plentifulness around just opportunity to have that?
Hmm.
What I'm learning more and more and I'm really appreciating is that the other part of the access is like literally like who is teaching, like who has the skills to
Hmm.
teach reading
yeah
and doing that in ways that are equitable across our system so it does not depend on who's in your class or what their background is or what their learning capacities are. They are able and afforded the opportunity to have really strong literacy instruction so they can access those really beautiful books that are available. And I think there's a lot of factors that go into like why that hasn't happened. And I wish we would listen to our community. I feel like our communities of color have the answers around building
Hmm.
really strong literacy skills, whether it's like through oral language, through storytelling, like through capturing ideas in journals, like whatever it is that we've been doing forever. I
Hmm.
think we can do those things and we should be doing those things in schools too. And giving access to our community, to our classrooms, I think is a really good entry point. Give us elders, give us the lessons, tell us what we need to
Hmm.
be doing and help us because obviously our school system is not, like we know, like, I mean, even being in a school system, I understand I'm perpetuating this system of taking away access and opportunity to the students that are in the system and also trying every single day to fight that system and not be the person that's continuously adding to that. So let's do better. If I know we can do better, if I know I can do better, I want to do better.
Absolutely.
constantly struggling with that
Mhm.
aspect of our jobs.
Mhm.
So
I
I'm like,
know it's
oh,
real.
I'm just perpetuating this.
Yeah.
And I'm just constantly like trying to figure out that balance or yeah. I don't know
Abs-
that we'll ever see that. But even I was just thinking about young children, right? Like when we're trying to teach them literacy, I often see it'll just be like creators online where they're trying to induce like this level of joy
Yeah.
with learning, right? And at some point we've been losing that. I think that's an aspect too. And I see thinking about like English teachers that I've worked with, it's like where is the joy? Like they're middle schoolers, right? Like we
Mhm.
need that in our day to day. And I wish I would see like more of that
Me
aspect
too.
for
Me too.
learning.
Yeah, that's my little nickname. I'm the joyful leader because I feel like
Oh,
why would I want to be in a classroom or a school every day if I'm not enjoying it?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
feel
It makes me thinking about joy and also getting students excited about reading and writing and providing access to them in a way that might be a bit more non-traditional. And you were mentioning like oral traditions and storytelling. And this was many years ago, because my background's in theater. We would go into local public schools and would teach students from grades, I think it was 3 to 8, how to write creatively using theater and music and dance. And
nice.
it was incredible because the students could see in real time how to craft a story, put their ideas out there, see all of the different elements, and we would act things out. We would improvise. We would use dance and music to bring their stories to life in real time. And it did very much, to your point, Kelsey, encapsulate that joy of creating and that joy of sharing. It was also a very communal activity as well. And then they were able to take those skills and transfer them to getting pen to paper. And I think it is things like that that are really going to help promote literacy in a way that is, again, accessible and sustainable in our schools versus the way that we're currently teaching it. Because
Yeah,
yeah, there's such a huge barrier there
yeah, I
for
love that. I love the
students.
arts integration. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's literally the reason why I went to grad school because my thesis was on how to increase critical literacy in students using theater as
Nice.
that tool. Because I was like, I want to explore this more. There is something here. And if we could tap into this, I think we'd really have, yeah, so many more joyful, skilled readers.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's obviously one way to get students excited about reading and writing? Do you think there are other ways that teachers, families, communities can help their students when they are feeling reluctant or discouraged as a reader?
Mhm. I mean, I think knowing who our students are is really important because if we know who they are, we can start tapping into their interest and find
Hmm.
to really like appeal. Like I remember when I was teaching sixth grade and I had a group of students who were just super reluctant to really get engaged. In this case, they were boys, but they were athletes. They were all athletes, and they really like were like reading is so boring. I don't want to read,
Hmm.
blah blah blah. And now I forgot the name of this author, but he only specialized like in sports-based YA. And so he did like football, he did softball, he did track, like all of baseball, like all of his books were based around a sport, and he
Hmm.
was captivating. And I remember starting a little book club. Hey, why don't y'all just try it? I'll read it
Hmm.
with you. And it changed. Like it all of a sudden I couldn't keep those books on my shelf. Like they wanted the next book like right away. And
Mm.
that was like a situation where I don't think it's unique because I also seen that happen like with authors like Jason Reynolds. You find the right book for the right youth
Yep.
at the right time and so they can be captivated.
Hmm.
I think it means like slowing down. I think like really engaging in the art of read alouds. Like I think we are never too old to have a really strong read aloud and really have deep conversation around a theme or a character in a book.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more of that. I personally subscribed this year for the team I support in the district I'm working in right now. There's something that Kwame Alexander is doing called One World. And
Hmm.
it's every month he has an author that he showcases. He brings in an author and they talk about the new book that this author has written or whatever book this author's written. And he does it geared towards students. So students are the audience. And he's talking about, hey, here's a pattern of what we're noticing. And he'll like model after a piece of his book. So he'll read a little chunk of that and say, what do you notice about what I'm reading? You give it a try. Let's do some practice like right now. It's like a half hour, 45-minute interactive, like half writing workshop,
Hmm.
half author book talk. And that seems like a really cool way to engage youth as well.
Hmm.
And I think also just like that piece that Kelsey's talking about, like the pushing and the pressure, like what are we pressuring for? So if we can alleviate some of the pressure around production
Hmm.
and really think about, hey, I had a conversation with my husband the other day. He's also a writer. And we were talking about if you can write a really strong paragraph, like a really strong paragraph, I don't need you to prove to me you can write 5 paragraphs. Like, let's
Hmm.
focus on the really strong paragraph right now and celebrate that
Hmm.
and look at how it makes you feel and what are the beautiful parts of that really strong paragraph. And then let you figure out what the next step is going to be. Like I'm going to grow with you. And some of it is not meant for the time that we have. This, what the structure of the day, the time of the class, like all those kind of logistical things that I know are real. But if we could like, I don't know, push against some of that a little or like, soften some of those edges. For students who are struggling, they're struggling because the way it's set up is not working. So why can't we evaluate how things are set up and
Hmm.
figure out another way? I don't say that lightly. I know it takes time and energy, but I don't care. I'm willing to like give a little bit of that energy if it's going to make a stronger production outcome on the other end.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, when you were talking at the beginning of that response about finding those books for that particular group of boys
Hmm.
that really enjoyed sports and being an athlete, I think the other piece to all of this is having really great librarians, because that is a huge part of being a great,
Yeah.
especially school librarian, is like
Yes.
knowing who a child is as a student, as a reader, knowing what their interests are, and pairing them with that perfect book that's really going to open that up to them. I had the privilege of working with a great librarian at my previous school, and we're still really great friends. And she was so good at really getting to know the students
Yeah.
deeply and then finding that niche for them that she knew would just unlock that joy and love
Oh,
for reading. So that's
100%.
such an important piece to all of
Yeah, it
this.
is. It really is.
Love our librarians.
And Amanda, you were saying just last night your school doesn't have a library.
Our school does not have a library, and it breaks my heart. There's been a lot of kind of conversation and controversy around it because a library is more than just a collection of books.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes different folks in leadership positions don't always recognize that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, it's something that a lot of us educators at my school have really struggled with and have pushed back against to no avail. But
Yeah. That's
yeah,
really sad.
yeah, really distressing.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thinking about that educator piece, I'm curious, Tanisha, like thinking about your work with students, what have your students taught you about storytelling and imagination?
Yeah, this is good. Like I said, some of the strongest pieces of exploring stories have come from my students. Like, and I don't teach in a classroom anymore. So now I'm like a person that helps support other people that do teaching classes. And so the access that I get to have to students is really when I go in and ask, how are things going? What are you reading? And things like that. What they tell me or what I'm learning and continue to learn is that storytelling is never going to go out of style. People want to have stories. And there's
Yeah.
something about, I think, the beautiful way in which we can connect with each other through storytelling that breaks down barriers. And so,
Hmm.
if I know your story, if I know a story that you like that maybe I also will like, we have a better chance of figuring out what we have in common than what we don't have in common.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of youth are reading right now. People will say youth are never reading. I think a lot of youth are actually reading right now.
Yeah.
And so they're getting stories from somewhere and they're talking about stories somewhere. And wow, I wish those kind of like conversations could be more open to all of us too. But I think we got to do the work as adults and like lean in and listen and pay
Hmm.
attention. So I'm learning that storytelling is happening. I'm also learning that they have the imagination. Like they're the ones that are still imagining and creating. I think they're like, what are you all doing over there? Like, what's happening? But it's also that imagination and creativity that is going to change our, like we're depending on them. We need them right now. And they're
Hmm.
showing up, like they are showing up. But that's what's going to change our world. That's what's going to change the way we're doing things. So every good story has a lesson. I believe this. I know this to be true. Every good story has a really strong character we learn from.
Hmm.
And I think that the stories that our youth are reading, the stories that are being written for our youth right now are providing them with some really strong models and examples of how they can change the world.
Yeah. Beautifully said, and could not agree more. So, in starting to wrap things up, I think one final question we had was when you are looking to the future, right? What are some of the literacy or community projects that you're dreaming about or hoping for right now?
Yeah. So what I am hoping for, like for me personally, or just like in general?
Either, whichever.
Okay. Generally, I like to see us really shift into just making more transparent the stories that we are talking about and creating spaces where we have some cross-generational opportunity to talk about those stories. I think that there's power in that conversation for our youth and also for the older people in our community. God, I wish we could change the way we talk about literacy to reaffirm and not be so negative around what we don't have and talk more about what we do have and
Hmm.
opportunities that we can move forward in. And continuing to publish books by authors of color and across
Yes.
identities. Like, just keep doing that. We're never going to have enough. So, like, this is like, and supporting really strong authors of color and across all identities, I think is really important. That's what I'd love to see generally. Yeah, I just want to see that shift in our world and continue being built in our world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snaps to that. Absolutely. Cannot get enough. And it's why we do our Lit Rex episodes every
Oh,
month because we do want our listeners to be engaging with authors from different backgrounds and identities. And again, providing them with those windows, insights, perspectives
Yeah.
to connect with others and to develop empathy and understanding. It's so
Yep.
important. And stories have the power to do that. Absolutely.
Before we get into this last section, Tanisha, I just want to help clarify. You never read Children of Blood and Bone?
I have not. No.
I had thought you would have. Okay.
No, and people are so surprised I haven't. I will. And I will at some point. I just haven't. I haven't. I have a stack like this big.
Yep.
Oh
Our
yeah.
never-ending
I keep
Yeah.
adding
TBRs.
to it.
Like this whole thing back here, you can't see it all. All of this is my like stack. This whole
Oh my goodness.
and it just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to double check. So what we do here is
Mhm.
we say the title and then you let us know whether or not they were a lit it, which is it was really wonderful and great and you would recommend it, or quit it, something you didn't really like.
Okay, and do I just answer lit it or quit it? That's it?
Yeah,
Yes.
but we
Yeah.
can
So it's
talk
super
about
rapid
it.
fire.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We can talk about it too, though. It's okay. First one, Verity by Colleen Hoover.
It won't be popular, but I'm going to say quit it. It was not
Okay,
my favorite Colleen Hoover
Devastated.
book.
Absolutely devastated.
that is okay. That is okay. Yeah,
It's
It's
just
not
so
okay.
different from other things that she writes. I think I'm more into her rom-com stuff, but that's just me.
That's okay.
that movie is coming out this year too.
Which
I'm
I'm probably going to go see.
It should be good. The book, I loved the book because it's so twisty and
It is so
bonkers.
twisty. I was like, oh my, so maybe that's part of it too.
creepy.
Yeah, it is also slightly creepy.
Yeah,
All right, next one, Twilight by Stephanie Myers.
love it.
Oh my
Love
God.
it. I know, right? Like, I know quality, I don't know, but the story, yes, I'm all in.
I can see why you and Kelsey are friends. This is all just becoming so clear now.
Okay, Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan.
Oh my goodness. Yes, lit it. That and the other two that go with it. Yes, absolutely.
I
Yes.
haven't read the other two yet, but we
So
did
good.
an episode together.
Yeah, I did end up liking that one for the most part. I think I gave it a
Yeah.
soft lit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins.
Lit it. Like,
Okay,
oh my
yes.
goodness. Yes. Yes. She's such a great storyteller. I wasn't sure. Can we continue? Yeah, I guess we can continue.
It's the same thing, but yes.
But we're here for it. And the movie is also going to be
I
phenomenal.
cannot wait. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
What is it? November? We have to wait.
November. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then the final one, which actually we haven't done an episode on this one, but we talk about it so much on the podcast,
Yes.
I had to include it. All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir.
Absolutely lit it.
Yay.
Yes. Wow. That's
I would be mad if it was not. Like, this is
like no judgment, but you know.
It's so good. Yeah. Kelsey kept raving. It's funny because I am the one who originally recommended this book, not past year, not 2025, 2024, but I hadn't read it yet. But I was like, it looks great. Kelsey then read it and was like obsessed. Then I read it and was also equally obsessed.
Yeah.
She's such a phenomenal writer.
So
Oh,
good.
and gut wrenching. Such a gut wrenching book.
Yeah.
That's her Air book here
Oh.
that I'm going to be reading.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
that's a beautiful cover
Gotta add
too.
that. Okay.
But she writes fantasy as well. So YA fantasy. So that's what this one is.
It's going to be amazing. So before we close today, we wanted to quickly, Tanisha, give you the opportunity to plug your channel, like summarize really quickly for folks what they can expect
Yeah.
on your BookTube channel, and then anything else you'd like our listeners to know.
Okay, so I got to show off the shirt that my daughter got me.
Yes, we love.
Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah, so Talking Books with Tanisha on YouTube, it is something that started off as like a live feed for Facebook during the COVID like pandemic because I was like, I'm feeling isolated. What if we talk about books? Who wants to join me? And then I just really started thinking about like the books that I'm reading and how I wanted to share those stories. And also like putting a book into the hands of someone can like open doors. And so like the feel and sentiment behind Talking Books with Tanisha is either talking to people about books, in some cases talking to authors about their books, or just me talking to everyone about the books that I'm reading. They're by season. So there's like 7 seasons. We're on the 7th season right now. And I also have like holiday specials and summer book dumps and all that. But just really a way to advertise some of the stories that I really have loved and just want other people to love too. So that's what
We
that's
love
about. Yeah.
that. And do you also have socials where folks can follow you, or is it just the BookTube
Yeah,
channel?
no, I have Instagram. So Talking Books with Tanisha on Instagram is my
Okay.
handle for that. And then you can find me on those two platforms, YouTube and Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you.
How often do you come out with a new episode?
Yeah, so right now I'm on my little winter hiatus. I had my last one right at the beginning of December is when I
Okay.
did my season one, but usually it comes out every Sunday automatically. And right now the next half of the season 7 will launch again, like probably in the beginning of February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so
Um,
it'll be at the beginning of this month that this
you can
episode
catch
is
up on
dropping.
all the rest of the videos. There's so many videos there you can look
Yeah.
at right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Before we go, Tanisha, we have to know, where can we find your books?
Oh, okay. So it's been a second, but they're available on Amazon. So that's where you can find them. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be sure to link those in our show notes.
Okay.
Yes. So you can
Yeah.
click those links and purchase Tanisha's books. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy weekend to chat with us and share more about what you're doing in terms of literacy and education and writing and reading. Just so much good stuff. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. As a reminder, you can find us on our socials on Instagram at lit_vibes_only. You can watch this episode on YouTube at Lit Vibes Only Podcast. And you can come hang out with us on TikTok, also at Lit Vibes Only Podcast. So if you haven't already, like, follow, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And also, as a reminder, if you have not yet done so, don't forget to rate and review. You can do that as soon as you hear the outro music for this episode. Hit that 5-star button, leave us a comment or a review, depending on which platform you're on. And if you have not yet followed us on Fable, you can find me at Lit Vibes Only Amanda, Kelsey at Lit Vibes Only Kelsey, and really dive into these books and episodes more deeply with us, even beyond our socials. It's a great way to connect with you. We'd love to see you in our upcoming book clubs, and we'd love to hear what your thoughts are for our next reads on those episodes. So thank you so much for joining us, Tanisha. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Monday.
Everybody.
Bye.